You know, some people age like a fine wine, and some people age like a can of special brew left on a hot windowsill. Whichever one you are, get ready to talk about those pesky little emotions of yours, because it's time for another episode of I've Had a Rosé, Let's Talk About Feelings. Please welcome your host, Sam Lake. It was me the whole time. Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of I've Had a Rosé, Let's Talk About Feelings, where today my guest is the one and only Laura Davis.
Hey, thank you.
I don't know why I said it the other way.
Everybody does. It would be easier to change it at this stage.
Does it happen? Do you often get introduced to stage?
Yeah, I have
as
it
Laura
on
Davies?
lineups and chalkboards, and then I also get Lauren instead of Laura, and then
that I would find interesting.
And then a Lauren Davies has been performing in Melbourne, I think.
Oh right.
And then I was on a lineup with Lauren Davies. I was like, finally.
Wow.
I've been gigging with this person for 15 years and finally I get to meet them.
Oh, well, I'm sorry about that. That's my biggest fear whenever I'm hosting a show, is getting somebody's name wrong. And even if you tell me how to pronounce it correctly 5 times.
I find it very hard when you haven't met any of the people for, like, you're hosting an open mic or a big lineup or somewhere you haven't visited, and then you have 10 people or something that you've never met before, and you have to get them all.
Oh, when it's free for all, where it's just the name out of the barrel, and it's just take your best shot.
2 first names, and that's very easy.
I used to know someone called Neil Paul.
Yeah, exactly that kind of stuff.
How avant-garde.
You got a 50-50 chance of getting that the right way round.
If it was written Neil, Paul, then I'd assume his name is Paul Neil.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's Neil Paul. I don't know which way I prefer it.
It sounds like a French Beatles.
Neil Paul.
Yeah.
Well, no, that sounds like they're saying no Paul.
Yeah.
No Paul. Nil Paul. How are you in general?
I'm all right.
Yeah, doing good?
Yes, I got an early train in the morning, so I'm filled with the dread.
The dread.
Yeah.
I always find with an early train, once I'm on it, fine.
Exactly.
Get me to wherever I need to be. As soon as I know I'm on the train that will get me to my final destination, I don't mean that like dying, then I know, like, okay, it's out of my hands now. I can't make this train go any faster. Yeah.
I'm counting down my 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I got 12 hours left of not being on a 5 a.m. train.
Not being on a 5 a.m. train. And you enjoy those.
I am really trying to,
Yeah.
put myself out there, make the most of it.
And what kind of things are you up to at the moment? Because fun fact, you live just a couple houses down from me.
That was a very fun conversation when I first met you. And we live in the same area. Oh,
Yes.
okay, whereabouts? Oh, there. Oh, what street? Yes.
Yep.
Okay, what number? All right. Okay.
And then and then I also think you said, like, I got married over there. And I was like, that's where I got married as well.
Any closer, it'd be threatening, I think.
It would be alarming. It would be alarming. I think it was quite funny. We had a run in the other day. You've been away
3 months.
3 months.
And they moved the supermarket.
They moved the supermarket.
And I was in distress.
I was sat in a coffee shop, and you came up to me, do you know where the supermarket is? And I was just like, oh, it's the same supermarket, just over the road now. Just moved into a slightly bigger room. But you thought it had completely disappeared.
Well, I hadn't seen it as I walked past because it was behind me, and I didn't. I went into the first one and they were just like, no, sorry, there's no food in here anymore.
There's no food. Like, well, there is. It's just all of the to-go stuff.
But I'd been awake for like 48 hours.
You had a time. You'd had a time. Well, I'm glad that you're back and that you are aware of where the amenities are in the neighbourhood.
It's such a relief. I would have seen it on the walk back home.
Yeah, and then
had I not bumped into you.
That would have been crippling, I think.
Yeah.
I would have been devastated.
Would have been all
over. Yeah. Let's talk about your choice of beverage.
Yes.
Everyone chooses their beverage. And you've gone for, I would say, a refreshing, vaguely summery drink, because I only feel like I have it at summer. A ginger beer.
A ginger beer.
A ginger beer. Fan of a ginger beer?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's a big, very popular in Australia, I think, the ginger beer.
Is it? Is there a difference between ginger ale and ginger beer?
Well, you have like the dry ginger ale, which is sort of more of a mixer, and then sort of a ginger beer quite often has quite a lot of sugar.
Interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that. Oh, this is more sugary.
I think so, yes.
Okay. And the bottle said that it's sparkling, and I don't know if that makes a difference. It should be.
I think so, yeah.
If it's not sparkling.
They're usually carbonated.
Well, there you go. There you go. How do you feel when you have a little ginger beer?
Oh, I do look, if there's any emotions, I think they have a positive connotation.
That's good.
Ginger beer is sort of, it's in the esky, it's in the cooler. When you're at the beach, you're at a barbecue. I'm a non-drinker, so that's sort of
It does give big barbecue energy. It does. Now that you've said it, yeah. And you wouldn't mix it with anything.
I mean, you could put quite a few things in it. It's usually used as sort of a base on a fruity punch.
A fruity punch. Ooh, I knew someone. I think from Australia. So I don't think we have it here, but there was such a thing as a fizzy milk. Is that a thing? No, I've made this up.
I've never heard of a fizzy milk.
Someone told me, someone I used to work with, they were obsessed with the idea of a fizzy milk. And apparently it was a thing that you could get in the sort of Australasia continent.
Maybe Southeast Asia, possibly.
Well, I don't know. Sure. To the point where they were going to buy the thing that you make fizzy, soda stream, and then put milk in the bottle and then add the fizz to that, like a strawberry milkshake, and then put the fizz in that.
Look, technically there's no legal limits on that.
The way you're saying it feels like you think there should be.
I've not heard of the fizzy milk. You'll have to sample a wider population.
I'll keep asking. I'll get to the bottom of that eventually.
I'm from Western Australia, and we have spearmint milk.
Like a minty milk.
Yeah, Australia has, and New Zealand, to be fair, but particularly Australia has a real thing with flavoured milk as a really standard sort of, in a little carton, flavoured milk.
Yeah.
In all your corner shops and things. It's a common beverage even in adulthood. But Western Australia is the only one that's really committed to spearmint milk.
I see.
It's a green minty milk. It's not...
It doesn't sound terrible to me, if I'm honest.
It's not for me, but it's...
Fair enough.
I feel like you outgrow it. You have a few when you're, a kid, and then you're like, no, the chocolate or the strawberries.
The chocolate, you want a standard... Yeah. If I find it in a Neapolitan ice cream, then that's okay. Yeah, exactly. That's acceptable. Yeah. Fair enough. Are there any other times where are you cracking open a ginger beer quite often?
Sometimes. I feel like they have Christmas connotations to me. Like it was the time...
The gingeriness.
I definitely filled the fridge with some around Christmas time.
The spice, I think, it makes me think of like a Christmas pud or something. The kind of spices that you sort of only hear about at Christmas. The only time I use ginger if I'm cooking is if I'm making a curry, and then I can't think of anything else that I would use it for.
Gingerbread.
Yes, you said that in quite a sinister tone as well.
Stir fry.
Okay. Gingerbread sounds like it could be like a horror film. The way you said it. Gingerbread. Gingerbread.
I mean, Hansel and Gretel's out there. It's ready for a remake, I think.
Yes.
The live action Hansel and Gretel.
We can't be far off that. It's coming, isn't it? They're making an IP out of all sorts. They'll do a fizzy milk film or a spearmint milk. Lovely. And do you what was I going to say? Ginger beer, it makes you think of Christmas. Does it feel like because you said Christmas and barbecues, it feels sort of like a little bit of a party drink, like a drink for bringing people together. It's a social beverage.
I think so.
If you were having...
Or you've gone to get like fish and chips or something, and that's the one you've picked out of the cabinet.
Oh, that's very interesting, because I find do you mean like if you're just getting it for a normal tea, or if you're on the way back from a late gig or something?
Normal tea.
Normal tea. Because anytime I get something from a chippy or something like that, I will get a drink, but I'll choose the one that looks a bit weird and fun. Like one of the chippies on my route home, you can get a strawberry. I'm going to mispronounce it. It's called something like a Miriana or a Magina. I don't know.
You're going to have to be careful if you keep going.
I'll stop there. I'll quit whilst I'm ahead. But it's like a fun sort of like little can. I always go for
What's in like strawberry?
It's like it's a very sweet strawberry soda. It's vaguely syrupy. Like you drink it and you go like, I know this is the same consistency as most liquids in cans, but it feels thicker.
It might be thicker.
Well, lovely. So, but you do crack open a ginger beer every now and then.
Definitely feels like a treat.
It feels like a treat.
Yeah.
What would you? I'm trying to think of what would you drink if you were like, no, you don't deserve a treat today.
Oh, I do that most days. I'm very hard on myself. I have like a favorite pair of socks that I won't let myself wear. I have to earn those. You got to earn them.
You've got to earn those socks.
Yeah, you got. You not today.
That's interesting.
So I feel like. In incredibly boring ways, you would be like, well, I shouldn't have a lot of soft drink. I shouldn't have this. You should probably just have water or tea or something.
But are they boring if they're special to you?
No.
If you make a ginger beer special, then that makes it special.
It's a special drink.
Do you have a particular... Are you fussy about what brand of ginger beer? Some people can be quite particular.
The Bundaberg ones are sort of the Australian classic, the little stubby bottles with the little pop sort of...
Oh, okay. You like a bit of a bottle top action.
Yeah, they do like a grapefruit one and like passion fruit.
Oh, so we can do flavoured ginger beers as well.
Well, they're not technically ginger beers. They're just sort of
fruity fizzes. Okay, so you prefer
a sarsaparilla.
What's a sas? Oh,
I don't know.
You just it's just a fun thing to say.
That's the one we were always scared of.
The sarsaparillas. Well, good. I'm glad that you chose a drink that you think is a treat. Whilst we're stopping on these, let's talk about your topic.
I was going to say, I haven't had one in a mug before, though.
It's kind of the thing where everyone has their drink out of these mugs. Some drinks that people choose don't suit the mug, and you kind of just have to go along with it.
You didn't mention the mug.
No, it's you know what? We'll add that to the brief that we send to people. But we had Joe Sutherland in last week, and we said like, do you mind having your iced latte in a mug instead of the little cup? And so we compromised and we just put the straws in it, little paper straws, so it still felt a little bit festive.
This feels like when you're ill. And like your mum will heat the ginger beer up.
Oh, it does. I can see. Yeah, makes it feel slightly medicinal. Although, if you did have an auto glass replace mug as a child, I'd have more questions.
Yes.
Let's talk about your chosen topic because I think it's very interesting. Not
huge relief.
Yeah, I would, but also I guess if I found it very dull, I probably wouldn't say that on the podcast.
No, but you could have warned me ahead of time.
Well, I could have warned you ahead of time.
Laura, that is incredibly dull.
Let's step it up a bit. But no, I think this is a good one. I think it goes to lots of different places. You chose a nature documentary.
I did. Again, sounds like it could be in the dull.
I don't think so. I see nature documentaries as very, well, to me anyway, they're very visual. If I just want to sit and wonder at something, nature documentary seems like a good shout.
Yes.
What are you typically thinking about when you go like, do you know what I'm new to watch today? Little nature documentary.
Oh, I'm thinking I'm going to learn about these guys.
You feel it's educational.
Yeah, and it's sort of it's something where the technology of it has improved since I was a kid. So I loved them when I was a kid, and they just keep getting better.
More advanced,
it's like the sequels live up to the hype. The camera technology they have and the drone technology, like everything. You're going, well, these are actually... I'm just learning more...
about how to actually capture all of this. Yeah. Well, there's the people who operate the cameras do like very like extravagant things to get the shot, to get like one shot of a particular type of snow leopard.
Yes.
As it like is climbing up a hill.
8 years.
Yeah. Divorce their partners and they have to spend like 18 hours a day under a sheet that looks like leaves. But then
just
they get
in the sea.
Then they get in the sea, and then they get the shot, and they go like, "Well, it was all worth it."
Yeah, there you go.
She's not coming back, but
That's why I was in the sea for 8 years.
Yeah, they did it. It is very impressive when you think that of all of it that goes into it. But thinking about sort of like the educational element to it, nature documentaries. Do you like the ones? Are you a fan of like a classic Attenborough?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I don't think you can go past my favourite is particularly in Melbourne, the IMAX cinema is really close, and during the day they do these 50-minute nature documentaries 3D for school groups. They're not all 3D, but I go to 3D ones because they're the best.
Yeah.
And you can just sit there in the IMAX cinema and know what it means to be a shrimp or a migrating butterfly or a praying mantis,
which
or
we've
a
all
polar
wanted to
bear.
know. Yeah.
I know, but it's like it's right. It's in your face, and it's 45 minutes. I went in just recently, just after Melbourne Festival finished. I was there for a few days. I was like, I'm going every day, and it's your second one is half price, so it's often 2 for 1 sort of a deal, because they're just sort of odd times during the day. And I went in and it's like, oh, I'll get a ticket for the Arctic 3D documentary, please. And she was like, oh, I'm just letting you know, there are some school groups in. I'm like, it is 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. I'm wearing a trench coat. You're lucky. I'm glad you let me in. Like, I know I'm here to watch.
There's certain people you shouldn't give that information to. No.
I'm watching a 50-minute documentary on polar bears. Like, yeah, I hope there's some kids in this room.
Well, does it hit the same way? I foolishly only thought about nature documentaries just sat on the sofa watching them on TV. Mm-hmm. But this is quite an extravagant experience. 3D, 4K, IMAX.
Yeah, they don't cost very much, at least.
Really?
So it's sort of just...
Well, they're shorter by the sounds of it.
it's quite breezy, so it's quite fun.
So is that always how you watch them?
Not always.
Sometimes you will.
I like to put it on the projector on the... at home, pull out my shirt, let the fish swim in my tummy, You got so many options.
I was going to say, oh my God, do you watch everything on a projector? Because that's so fun and modern. The projector's pointed at you. That's better. Okay. Yes, lovely.
Well, I feel like you get the full immersive experience if you put it up on the wall.
I'll
just leave it running as background sometimes.
I do that, but weirdly I do that with sitcoms. Uh-huh. And I watch them on a normal TV.
Yeah.
I don't have Phoebe Buffet hovering about my boobs or anything.
Get the full Seinfeld set projected into your living room.
Yeah, and I just...
line up the door just right.
Yeah, just a lane out,
Perfect.
When you are choosing a nature documentary, are there any things, like any tropes in the documentary that you sort of looking forward to, i.e. I love it in the Attenborough ones where, it's like the lizard pops their head out of the thing and they've got to do a run, and the run's coming up and the run's going to be done in the most wonderful slow motion. Are there any things in a nature documentary to be like, yeah, this is a bit of me, this is?
Oh, I like a fairly recently too, I really like a drone shot. Like a slow drone shot over forest, and you sort of go in closer and closer and closer, and you're like, oh, what are we looking at? Okay, we're learning about the forest. Oh, no, we're learning about the tree. Oh, we're learning about the monkey. Oh, we're learning about the fleas on the monkey. All right, we're in. Like, big to little. I think I got a slight prejudice against the Arctic ones, maybe. They're all getting pretty depressing, increasingly depressing. And I think there's not a lot of peripheral stimulation in an Arctic documentary. It's a lot of blank. It's a lot of white space.
A lot of the same.
Minimal.
Yeah. It's a lot of very blue ocean, very white snow and ice.
If I get bored, I want to be able to look around in the background or something.
Yeah, you want the Arctic to serve a little bit more.
But they're just going in with more, like, when I was a kid, I would love to go. There was an Omni theatre in Western Australia, and that wasn't like an IMAX properly. It was sort of a redundant IMAX thing where it was a dome screen, and you could go and see nature documentaries there. Mm-hmm. And so I would get taken to go watch ones about the ocean or something, and I loved them. But all they were telling you were like, oh, did you know there are dolphins? And there are different kinds, and they swim around.
Yeah.
And now they're like, did you know that they have rituals and dialects and hobbies and artistic pursuits and fetishes and enemies? And you're like, no, I didn't. But someone's down there with the dolphins in so much detail.
What is the documentary that just focuses exclusively on dolphin fetishes?
Look, I think you have to go Blue Planet 4. It's coming.
Emphasis on blue.
It's not out yet, but somebody right now is sitting in the ocean getting that 8 years worth of footage to be able to prove it.
Just before he leaves this earth, Attenborough's gotta do like the Animal Fuck Fest documentary. It's gotta happen. But you raise a good point there. Sometimes watching a nature documentary, you do get a little bit depressed. And my husband is a climate scientist, and they if you work in climate science, you do experience what's called climate anxiety, and they get like special training on how to deal with that because they're having to think about it all day, every day, which can be very difficult. So do you get a bit of that from watching, especially if you're watching the Arctic ones?
Yeah, definitely.
Because you're just like, oh, it's smaller than the last time we were here, isn't it? Do you ever get a bit like that?
Definitely. I did watch one that was quite uplifting. It was the Jane Goodall Reasons for Hope documentary.
That's the one who lives with the monkeys, gorillas?
Yes, the chimps,
apes,
yes.
Chimps.
You look somewhere
I was just going to list all of them. And dolphins, just in case.
How far were we going? Marmosets.
She's the one who found out that dolphins like to get cucked. Yeah.
And that was quite fun, and that was following all of the different sort of research and conservation efforts that are being made. So that was quite good. That was the first uplifting one that I've seen in a while. But yeah, maybe the Arctic one's a bit depressing. And David Attenborough is, he's getting on, and they're just every single one, completely rightfully so, but they do get a little bit, a little bit intense sometimes if you're trying to watch them recreationally. So that's when you probably want to go to the back catalogue a little bit.
The back catalogue, look at the good old times.
Yeah, or some of the kids' ones,
So the kids' ones steer clear of doing that.
Sometimes they're just like a terrible nature documentary. Like, you want them to be good, and sometimes you click on one and you're like, maybe this, all I want to see is some fish. That's the bar. You're watching like, this is just, they're not good fish.
Do you mean like one that's like, they're like poorly researched? Where they go like, today we're going to learn about spiders. Did you know they have 6 legs? Or something like that. Just all of the facts wrong.
Probably when it's just a little bit, I think it's probably the American sort of narrator over the top who's coming in like, oh my God, these animals are so scary, and and trying to amp up the drama of everything. And you're like, just let me watch the butterflies. Yeah,
I do think maybe to keep up with modern times, nature documentaries borrow a few tropes from like reality TV.
That makes sense.
I think just to keep things up, like you start watching at the beginning, you get a little sizzle reel of what's coming. They might suggest that like a manta ray throws us a glass of Chardonnay on a turtle or something. Be like, I know what you said about me at the luncheon. Stuff like that. Do you like just a classic document? Just show me the goods. Just show me the pretty things.
I'll even watch some of the ones that are like non-narrated. It's just the straight footage,
Yeah.
Bit of calming music. I had a bit on it in a couple of shows ago about how like one of my favorite things to watch is just like ocean documentaries with the sound off.
Oh,
just want to look at the fish.
Kind of. Well, I guess it's not like ASMR because you have the sound off, but like I don't know if there's like a visual version of ASMR. You could put your own
music on.
You sure could. Yeah. So do you find the documentaries quite relaxing?
I think so. I think they're just amazing.
Yeah.
Like if there's an emotion in it, it's like it's awe. It's, someone's got actually, like, just the other day, they were like, I think we've discovered a new species. Like, that happens all the time, particularly in the ocean. They're just sort of, people swimming, they're like, what is that? And they go, does anyone know what this is? And people go, no, that's, no. And wow.
Yeah.
There's...
It's particularly common with insects, isn't it? Because I think they named something after David Attenborough, like a type of butterfly or moth or...
Yeah, I think so.
Or something. A locust, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, it does happen all the time.
What insect would you like named after you?
God, I've
got a jar with a Sam Lake in it?
Oh, maybe like a mantis. One that you'd be like, you don't see enough of to find irritating. You know, if you see like you know what I mean? Like if you see a daddy long legs
You could put
in
that
the
on
bathtub.
a poster.
Well,
That's a great book.
not on stage long enough for you to find him irritating.
Brief.
It has been thought before. But you know, the ones that you see all of the time, like spiders or just anything, if you leave the bathroom window open.
Which I do sometimes, because that's the best way to see some of these things.
You have to right now. It's getting muggy. Very muggy.
Perfect.
But you, anything where like someone would be like, oh, if I saw that in my house, I would just think either get rid of it or stomp on it and kill it. Something, I would like to be a bug that somebody wouldn't want to kill.
Fair enough. Well, like a little firefly or something fun.
Oh, that's way better than a mantis, actually. Is that what you would be?
I mean, yeah, just to like... Well, I'd be...
Yeah.
No, I'll be like a cricket, I reckon.
Or a cricket.
Yeah, a little cricket, humble
Cricket. And like I said, you don't find mantises or crickets very often. Well, not in this country, anyway. Yeah, I guess in other countries.
In my accent, that is a lie.
They're somewhat common. Whoops.
You can't get rid of them.
Do you have
big and they're scary and they're on the bedroom ceiling.
There was a thing on TikTok the other day that was two girls who were staying in a hotel in Thailand, and there was like a gap in the wall that had something put to cover it very loosely, but it wasn't covered properly, so a few moths were coming in. So like, oh, let's go over there, let's like put something else in there to properly block it. But then when they opened it, just like thousands of moths came into the room, and all they had to protect their beds was like one of those mosquito nets. But the moths were everywhere, and they'd gotten under the net.
See,
and everything.
some people would pay for that experience.
Would they?
Yeah, I'm in a lot of moth identification groups online.
Really?
Yeah.
So if you find a moth, then...
Yeah, so you know, there's people who trap moths to research and identify and count the numbers and the different species.
A mothologist.
Yes, the mothers. And yeah, they do little moth groups. And
so do you find that watching nature documentaries, if you come across anything that you see in the documentary, you go like, I actually know a thing or two about this, and then it makes you sort of like want to explore nature more in real life?
I think it's I think definitely, like, I've always enjoyed being there in real life, and you know, there's some things that are really amazing that you can see in documentaries where you might not get the opportunity to safely engage with that, or you know, financially do it. That massive idea of interconnectedness and just the density, the fact that there's, you know, so many different ecosystems and different parts of this global system. I think it's really awe-inspiring and really fun to sort of put it together as a puzzle. Really.
That is the word, isn't it? It's awe, it's wonder.
It's incredible.
You're watching because it's stuff that you don't get to see, or most people won't ever get to see.
You shouldn't, like, you know, got a camera down there like, did you know these two fish are friends? We've realised, actually. They're hanging out all the time. They're being really nice to each other. They don't want to admit it, but we reckon they're friends.
I think you might be thinking of Finding Nemo, which technically isn't a
documentary.
Beautiful documentary. Can I ask, where you grew up, what was the environment like?
Oh, it's very specific. I get homesick all of the time for a few places now, but I grew up in sort of the Jarrah forests in Western Australia, and it's a very unique landscape, which is sort of, it's quite hard to get a fix of in any other way. So it's these forests of Jarrah trees, and it's quite a dry environment. It's quite sort of dry compared to the more temperate forests on the other side of the country that get a bit more water.
Right.
So sort of like a big belt of trees about the size of Belgium, with nobody.
That was so specific as well.
Nobody in it.
Just a hollow Belgium. Just trees.
Well, yeah. Well, there's a lot going on in it.
Well,
you know?
And
because it's geologically stable, it's one of the most. It's a biodiversity hotspot because there's not a lot of nutrients coming from the soil. So everything is sort of, you know, really developed its niche over a long period of time because, you know, the geology of it hasn't changed for many thousands of years.
And is there much in the way of human interference in that space?
I mean, you know, a whole bunch of British people colonised the country, so
oops,
yeah,
sorry.
quite a bit. For a while, there was, you know, about 50,000 years, there was some semblance of balance, and then about like 1700s that came to an end. But there's carnivorous plants and sort of all sorts of things that are really interesting.
And so, do you take an interest in sort of the environment that you grew up around as well? Because I come from Cornwall. That's where I was born and raised, and I don't know if it was like a trend, but there were a lot of documentaries sort of made about like the UK coastline and things like that, and people would like obsess over that show Coast and be like, oh, did you see that one cliff that they looked at? Oh, and how it like separate, and there's the stack and then you get the and I have a hard time looking at that with the same amount of awe and wonder that I might look at the type of environment you just described, because I grew up with that one. So I don't find it as fascinating because I grew up with it, so I saw it all of the time.
Yes.
But it doesn't sound like you have the same thing.
Cornwall and they go, this is incredible.
Very touristy,
You know, you have basking sharks and you have, you know, all sorts of seabirds and migratory birds and...
Yes, if you say so. But like, yeah, and like we had like lots of like sea lions, sea cubs, dolphins. And by the time that you were a teenager, you've probably seen all of that, even just at a normal day at the beach. So I just don't find...
Just hankering for a documentary about the savannah.
Yeah, just give me something that is not like a thing that I have already
Yes, but a lot
seen.
of people where I, you know, grew up don't give a shit about the forests or anything. You know, they see that as a place that they're desperate to get out of.
Interesting. So it is also just the fact that you are sort of like a nature-loving...
I think so.
Person, you like the detail of it as well.
My mum is a biology teacher, and so, you know, she was always studying, and so when I was a kid, I got sort of taken out while she was doing her sort of field studies and things. So I got a lot of awareness of it, but I think just, you know, just the skew of the type of person that I am. But I think it's definitely something that I would like people to challenge in themselves a little bit more. Is there is this huge disconnect, you know, particularly in this country. I've noticed Australia has that little bit more sort of, there's a lot of pride in the natural resources that we have. You know, a lot of pride in some of the tourism of it, but, you know, just it is very awe-inspiring. But the UK is stunning.
Oh yeah,
there's a real sort of disconnect between people feeling like nature is something that is there to be sort of used and, you know, accessed and consumed, and then or is all very boring, and, you know, well, we don't care about these parts, we don't care about these forests, we don't care about these wetlands, we don't care about these coastlines.
We have more of a what's the word? It's more like, I guess it's more like consumerist, the way that we look at nature. So me and the husband and my friend Karen, we went up to the Highlands for a few days not long ago. And one of the things that annoyed my husband quite a bit is people go, you see pictures of this all of the time on Instagram. It's when people have found, usually by the seaside, but anywhere where there's like a lot of rocks or pebbles or something. The stacking, which is actually like not good for the ecosystems that, so all like the creatures that live around those rocks or whatever. Some people build like these like big fancy bridges out of rocks, and what you're supposed to do when you see them stacked up like that is just,
well, I will dismantle them carefully. So I don't
dismantle them
anything.
carefully. Yeah. Well, if you're really angry, then you just knock them down. But yes, you're supposed to do it because like you're supposed to leave those as they are, because they're where they are for a reason, and they're not your thing to just sort of like pick up and play with.
Part of the system.
People do that so that they can get you know, the little selfie moment or take the little...
Yeah, and I don't quite understand. It's you know, it's to prove how zen and sort of peaceful and how at home in nature you were, and that you were there, and it's a little marker. You know, it's sort of a a transient graffiti. In
Yeah,
some ways.
it is a little bit. I mean, I think if you
Carve your
just...
name in a tree.
I can't imagine balancing all of those rocks on top of each other very calming. I'd find it very annoying. It's like a Taskmaster task, almost. But yeah, I think like again, in Cornwall, we had something called the Eden Project, which I think is still there. It must be, actually.
So you've got a big problem at the moment with the sewage since...
in the Eden Project? Oh,
no,
just in the UK in general?
Well, and in Cornwall...
yes. Yeah. I remember seeing one of the sewage treatment facilities. What a day that was. But we had a thing called the Eden Project, which was these big biomes that each one was sort of cultivated to support a different type of climate. So it was one that was rainforesty, one that was drier and more desert-like, and then one that was like, I guess, a typical greenhouse. But you could go in there and look at all of these different types of plants and understand more about like the type of environments they grow in. And then all the exhibits around the biomes were about things like sustainability and recycling and stuff. And I guess like in Cornwall, it's more important to teach kids about that because I guess I don't know, actually. It's just important to teach young people in general that kind of stuff.
I think that's maybe something that's been missing from the education system, probably deliberately and by design, but it is in that severance of that connection with the ecosystems. Like once you you grow up in a place, you can say, well, I really understand this place and I'm excited to see other places. But if you don't understand how it works, when you go and see other places, you're still not going to get more than a very sort of superficial, sort of,
I guess so, yeah,
unsatisfying feeling of like, oh, I mean, I went to Africa and I saw the jungle, but I didn't really...
You have to have like an innate desire to go see the thing that you're going to. Otherwise, you're just kind of going for the sake of it.
Yeah, you don't get to really feel present in it because you need to be able to... see how it's holding together.
It sounds like you are big into nature, so I don't know if this question is still as applicable, but are there any other types of documentary that you can get stuck into, or is it usually just nature?
I like the nature ones. They're fun and relaxing, but I also really like a really tense one on something incredibly specific, like like wine fraud. Or
wine fraud?
Yes, like people passing off bottles of wine as expensive bottles of wine.
Oh.
Something where you're like, or like, the revitalization of a biscuit factory in Leeds or something like high intensity drama on a topic that you
What's happening at the Leeds biscuit factory that's that intense? There's been an issue with the nougat machine.
Exactly. Like I really like those sorts of...
So
when one person has some very specific problems.
Oh, okay. So not like sort of like the really out there one. There's one called Beyond Twin Flames.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
Crazy. It's very easy to watch as well because it's only 3 parts. But it's basically like a matchmaking sort of cult that eventually becomes a pseudo-religion. Basically, it hinges on the idea that you have... one person in this life who is your twin flame, and that's the person you're supposed to be with. And these 2 people said like, oh, this is all you need to know about being twin flames, and if you buy our course or become a part of our club, then we can help you find your twin flame. And all they would do is they'd say to someone like, it sounds like you've already met your twin flame, and they'd be like, no, I was in one relationship and I left that because it was actually starting to get a little abusive. And they would go like, was it though? Maybe you should call him.
Very twin flamey.
Twin flamey. And then they would just put you in touch with people that you already knew. And then at the end, spoilers if anyone is listening and wants to go watch it, by the end, they start telling people that their twin flame is someone they wouldn't expect. So they would say to some guy, oh, this is your twin flame. And they go like, oh, but that's another man and I'm not gay. And they'd be like, you sure though? And then when people would be like, but I'm not.
I mean, look, if they weren't sure,
but then they would go like, no, we know you're not gay. What they don't know is they are actually a woman. And then suddenly people start transitioning, and then it brings up the question of like, what's happening? Are you brainwashing these people into changing their gender when maybe that's not what they wanted to do? Twin flames. But like, that's a wild one.
Yes, and I can't wait to see the dolphin version of it. There's someone underwater right now who is like, did you know dolphins have cryptocurrency scams?
They definitely do.
They would.
They definitely have crypto. Yeah. It's a far cry from anything that's happening in the biscuit factory.
It's my favourite thing at the moment. There's a fake article circulating online that is saying that David Attenborough went on the Graham Norton show and started raving about how he's making like $125K a month on this crypto.
You see those all of the time.
Yeah. And Graham Norton's like, really? Let me try. And he's like, oh my God, I made 130 pounds. You're like, Graham Norton wouldn't pick up 130 pounds if he dropped it. Like,
no. Man's made of money.
It's so much fun.
He's invested well into dolphin crypto. What a lovely chat about nature and documentaries. I mean, like, I feel like in summary, it sounds like it's a lovely way to engage with like awe and wonder and like all of the stuff that the earth can do. And I like that you can sort of find a documentary to suit whatever mood you need it to. If you need to relax, if you need to build your energy or whatever. So I think that's nice. There's a lot
something on volcanoes to really get you going.
Something really, if it was a special night with the missus. Before I let you go,
please.
There is, as in please let me go.
No.
There is one last thing that we do with every guest, and this is called Quickfire Feelings. So I'm going to give you some random things, and you just very briefly and honestly tell me how they make you feel.
My therapist tried this and I was paying her by the hour.
Oh, I don't know if any of these are the things that your therapist would ask you.
Maybe we might be over that.
First one, how do you feel about your relationship with your mother? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that was it.
No, the first one, and this is one that we ask everybody. How do you feel about dark chocolate?
Oh, I have to have it. I don't like it. But it is, sometimes I will get the 100% dark. Like,
whoa!
And but, you have that the way that, like, an alcoholic would be drinking, like, methylated spirits or something. Like,
okay.
You want the effect. Like, I want to have the darkest chocolate and I want to eat 100 grams of it and I want to feel like I'm flying for about 2 hours.
You want the meth of chocolate?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it's for me. It's not for
what does it do to you if you have 100% pure chocolate?
It sort of boosts your serotonin and it's got caffeine in it. It's got
I always forget that it has caffeine in it.
Yeah. But it is a mood booster.
That's very interesting.
The last time I felt joy was because I had like a very strong hot chocolate at a chocolate factory. It was about 3 years ago. That was the last time I felt joy. And I was walking home and I was like, I think I feel joy. I think I feel really happy. Why is it? I was like, oh, you drank that massive, like...
You had that big dark hot chocolate.
Yeah, proper, like, artisanal shit.
I have a velvetizer that you can get from Hotel Chocolat. I always get milky, 50%.
No,
maybe I should...
hit the hard stuff and, see how you feel.
All right, then. That's all it took. God, it'd be very easy to get me to do meth. How do you feel about paninis?
Oh, a bit of a time portal to 2020, like 2001.
Okay, out of fashion.
Yeah.
Would you have one now?
Look, am I at like a corporate lunch and that's the only option? You
think they're a corporate sandwich? Yeah. Interesting.
I think we moved on.
I could get along with that. Yeah, it's a corporate sandwich
now.
Yeah, we're doing more artisanal breads.
Sourdough killed the panini.
Do you know what? That's very poignant. Very poignant.
I've worked in hospitality a long time. I've seen the trends.
How do you feel about Reiki healing?
Oh, I will let people do it to me very politely. Like, if you believe it works, then I believe you believe it works, then you have a go at it. I won't pay you, but, like, it's a lovely and generous offer. There you go.
Oh.
Better?
It's not worse.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the tagline. There was a bumper sticker in Western Australia for a while I used to pass that was somebody which was like Reiki sessions and a phone number. It was just on the back of a truck that was driving around. I was like, do you have to go in the truck for the Reiki? Or Are they advertising a standalone business?
I've done some stuff in the back of a van, but it wasn't Reiki. It was
That's
a
how
gig.
it starts.
Sorry. I did a gig during the Fringe. It was in the back of a van. It wasn't. It was to a Norwegian family. They thought it was fine.
Were you going across a border?
They parked it. Nobody ever remembers doing this. My first time at the Fringe, and I was just saying yes to any gig. They parked a van in the
that's right. They tried to get
Grassmarket.
me in that van.
Oh,
I got the survival instincts kicked in.
I think it was called the Titter Truck or something.
Yeah, something like that.
And they would get people into the back of the van.
You got to give them your passport.
You come in, yeah, you got to give them your passport. You put the sack over their head. You get in at the back because the audience are let in through the normal door. And you do your 10 minutes, and then you go like, oh, and you can come to my show. I did it to a Norwegian family, and they said, don't worry about like our 8-year-old daughter. You can say whatever you like. And it turns out they were lying. She was very upset. And then that gig was so weird.
What did you say to the Norwegian 8-year-old in a van?
Something about testicles.
Yeah, right.
And that gig was so weird that I did it 2 more times. Don't know why. How do you feel about Prime Minister Rishi Sunak very bravely admitting today that growing up, his family didn't have Sky TV?
Oh.
Do you know what Sky TV is?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I didn't have Sky TV either. Should I feel something about that?
I think he might be one of us.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's really a man of the people.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, we'll just leave that there. And finally, how do you feel about the many, many Fringe shows this year that will be based on the Willy Wonka experience in Glasgow?
I feel like until the Willy Wonka experience is coming to the Fringe in its own, you know, I want to go to the original.
You want to go to the OG?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I always find with the Fringe, there's always like whatever the hot thing was that year. Like one year it was Brexit, and then there were like 10 Brexit musicals.
It would make a good escape room.
Ooh.
The Willy Wonka experience escape room.
And I feel like if it was made to the same standard, it would be very easy to escape.
Yes.
It would just be a padlock on the door.
Yeah, but people want their money's worth, so they'll stay for the hour.
They'll stay for the hour. See the little weird masked man come out from behind the mirror. That brings us to the end of the episode. Have you had a nice time?
Me. I have. Thank you for having me.
Good. No, thank you for being a guest. Before we let you go, is there anything that you would like to plug to the listeners?
I would like to plug my full month-long Edinburgh Fringe season at Monkey Barrel.
Okay. What's the show called?
It's called Albatross.
Lovely. After the bird or the golf term?
After the bird.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely. I don't know why I knew albatross is a golf.
No.
It's 3 under par, I think. Am I?
You might be
Butch?
posh.
I might be posh.
Did you have Sky TV as a grown-up?
Yeah, but it was like attached. It was like we had someone hook a cable up to another cable, and then we just didn't ask any questions. Lovely, definitely
Crimes.
go see Albatross. You can follow the show at I've Had a Rosé if you want to see more juicy rosé content, and we'll see you again for another episode very soon. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Thank you for waving.
I want to help. I don't know which direction.